Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's February 21st, 2018. I'm trying to walk around and stay out of the wind so that you can hear me. And I want to talk about a YouTube creator, Connor Crickmore. I'd say that he's sort of an up and coming YouTube creator, and he's got an online webinar series and online courses that he's teaching about his really wonderful small scale market garden system. And his name of his place is Neversink Farm. I think they're down in the Hudson Valley area. We're much further north in New York State, near Lake Ontario, so we get some really heavy snowfalls, lots of cloud cover, lots of rain as well. And the other person I'll mention is Jean-Martin Fortier, JM Fortier, and he's known as the Market Gardener. And I'll put a link to his website and to his his book that he's published, The Market Gardener. An excellent resource. The reason I thought I'd make this video today, I'm going to step inside here so the wind isn't too bad. The reason I'm making this video today is to just talk a little bit about context about using tarps on the property. Recently, Connor had mentioned in one of his YouTube videos, he's been posting short little ones recently, and they're excellent, and I really respect him. I've never been down to his farm yet, but his whole approach is trying to reduce the workload, trying to increase efficiency, trying to be free up more time for the farmer so that he's got more time to spend with his family, and streamline his whole system, really analyzing over and over again what's actually necessary, what isn't necessary, and so on. So I really respect everything he's doing. And when you talk about context, so the topic that I'm going to talk about today is occultation using tarps. And he had mentioned one of the questions he always gets asked about is, how come you're not using tarps on your property? Well, there's a couple of things that he does differently. Now, I've started using the tarps as far as farming practices here since I learned about it from JM, Jean-Martin Fortier's The Market Gardener's references. And I saw how well it worked. Now, Connor in Neversink Farm, one big difference that he doesn't do permanent raised beds, so his beds are pretty much flat with the ground. They might be up an inch or so above, but the ground settles down a little bit. So he's got to use a lot of rocks to hold down his tarps. Now, we live in this tremendous windy area here. You see, if you saw the video that I probably just posted before this one about all the trees down, we lost another, I don't know, over the winter, probably 70 trees, 80 trees, something like that. And that's just part of where we live. We're just on this spot, this piece of property that really capitalizes wind. So someday I got to put a wind generator in here. But anyways, so we have the high winds, a lot more snow than what he gets. Our system is using permanent raised beds, which creates dips in between each of the beds where water and snow accumulate, and that helps to hold the tarps down as well. So that's something. The other thing that Connor doesn't do is he doesn't leave the tarps on for very long periods of time. His purpose for using it, if he were to use it, would be, as far as occulation, it only temporarily hold off the weed seeds. And you just have to be realistic. There's tons of weed seeds in all the soil around. If the soil's been there for any length of time, there's weed seeds blowing in all the time, unless it's a screened off area where the seeds can't get in. So he's right. He doesn't want to lug around big heavy tarps. It's a couple person job typically, hauling around all the rocks and then pull it off in 3 weeks, and then he's got to flame weed anyways. Really good points. With us here, there's a few reasons why we use it. One, I really want to protect the area during the winter months, and I'm going to show you the snowblower in a moment and some of the things, but I'm just going to click the camera around and show you around the corner here the beds with the amount of weights that I have to use on the tarps, oh, the other thing I want to mention is some of the areas that I'll be putting tarps in are going to be there, and if you've seen the large hugelkultur gray bed down on the trips down to the beaver dam down there, you'll see tarps that have been sitting there for a couple of years. And so that's actually exhausting the tubers that were there. Every time they try to shoot up, you know, so you pull the tarp off for a couple of days, the sun gets there, pull the tarp back over, and that does kill all of those weed seeds that are in those top couple inches of soil, and it kills all those rhizomes, all the tubers that are holding all the starches that allow that perennial plant to come back up. But it's got to be on there for a very long time. It won't work if you're just going to have the tarp down for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you a couple of things. So here we are right next to the workshop area, and you can see it's a big thaw right now. It's over 60 degrees. And you can see I use lots of the scrap lumber to hold things down, and I use my little sacks filled with stone around the margins there and all. Now on this side here, the building really blocks that westerly wind. We'll go around to the other side. Now this isn't too bad. Well, actually I probably should go down. At the other end, there's soil on top of the tarp, and I'll show you why that happens. Water gets in here, and I try not to let the snow blower blow too much stuff up on here, but you see there's even pieces of sod, little pieces of grass all over in here. And you may recall I topped this whole system off. I topped it all off in the fall. I rebuilt the beds, and I didn't hit, the tarps aren't long enough to cover some of the areas, and unfortunately these areas didn't get covered. That's where the oregano is here. This is where our beans will be going, our peas and beans. And here's one of the culprits. So this is my snow blower. It's on the front end of my tractor, and if you look down there at the cutting bar, you'll see it has some soil. You actually see some grass down in there. And so if we have a thaw, and we have a couple of thaws usually each season, and the ground is soft, I'll start scooping out, and this whole area here is where the blade got down on me. And there's another, no, that's actually where it drains off the roof there. Here's another little spot here. And when this area is not covered, all these little pieces of sod on top of this fresh compost, and you can see some of the little gravel there as well. Well, that's how I can transplant, you know, without trying to do that, but I can transplant some of the weeds right onto this system. Now, if I should have gotten this covered up, but I just didn't get it covered up as I'd hoped to. But when we have these thaws, I don't know if you can see the tire tracks there, the tires start to sink in. That's when I start to scoop up some of the, you know, the sod that's there. There again, some more sod that probably came from that spot over there. So I just wanted to make those couple of points. There's a little bit of a difference between the way that J.M. Fortier is doing it, the market gardener, with the permanent raised beds. Sometimes he'll leave the tarps on for prolonged periods. I leave them on for a couple of years. I'll be doing that up front this spring where new gardens are going, so that I don't have to do, you know, cut out the sod and do a whole bunch of extra work. And as you know, I don't mow the lawn. My neighbors go by and give me a thumbs up every time they see me on the mower, trying to encourage me to mow out there. But I want everything to grow up like crazy because I'm building soil. So now I'll be going up there, tarping the area to try and kill them off. And those tarps are going to be down over a year's period of time. So I just wanted to show you, it depends on the context, what you're trying to accomplish. And you know, with Connor, who's doing an absolutely fantastic job with his farm and his educational opportunities through his as a YouTube creator. I think he's really putting out great stuff. But I wanted to create this video to just give people another perspective. Having as many perspectives, hearing the pluses and minuses of different systems, I think is always beneficial. So that's what I wanted to make sure I addressed today, just to get this up and out there. So if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I really appreciate it. And by all means, share it or subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Thanks so much, folks, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.